Ladies and gentlemen, we're at Farport 2022, and we're hanging out with a Hugo Award winner, Mr. Timothy Zahn, probably best known for his prolific work writing Star Wars novels and helping it keep it alive after a long hiatus of live-action movies. Mr. Zahn continues to write for Star Wars novels, and his original work, the Dragon Back series, is also worth checking out. Mr. Zahn, welcome and thank you for taking time to talk with us on the SciFi Diner podcast.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
It's great. We had a chance actually a few years ago to chat with you, and this is all way before the new Thrawn series was coming out. And so we were very excited to see you continue to play within the Thrawn universe.
Thrawn is a fun character. The Star Wars universe has all sorts of possibilities for new stuff. It's always fun to play in George's sandbox.
I was going to say the thing that excited me the most was when they dropped the hint in The
Yes.
Mandalorian that Thrawn was around.
Yeah.
In the live action universe, because we'd seen him in the animated, but
Right.
never in the live action. So we of course can't confirm that he's going to. But there's
Well,
a threat.
you don't drop a name like Thrawn's without having a follow-up ready.
Right.
Just kidding, fans. No, that's
No.
not going to play.
That does not work.
That's a
Filoni
cool
knows
joke.
better than that.
Now, all that being said, your hand has really been involved in the novels.
Yes.
When they bring stuff like into the animated series, or into like whatever comes down the road in the live action, how much involvement are you in those sorts of things?
Pretty much zero from everybody else's point of view. Now, I was involved peripherally with Star Wars Rebels, but only because they wanted me to do the prequel book, Thrawn, and I needed to know what was happening with him in the Rebels era, so I could set things up, put preliminaries, start guiding things towards where they were going.
Right.
So, for example, you have Thrawn in Rebels meets with Tarkin and Governor Price and Colonel Yularen. But in the series, I noticed they were feeding me scripts ahead of time, so I would know this. In none of those scripts did these feel like a first meeting between them. Okay, if this is not Thrawn's first meeting with Yularen, that must have happened earlier. I can put that meeting in my book.
Good.
So I was using their scripts to tie as much from the book into Rebels as I could. You want to make the history feel seamless and like it's a real history.
Right.
So I was involved in the sense that they gave me the scripts ahead of time, but I was not. They did not consult with me on anything. Filoni understands Thrawn. He grew up. The Thrawn trilogy and a lot of the other Legends books were part of his Star Wars experience. So he was immersed in that, and now that he's in charge of so much of the TV and such, he understands how that all works, how that fits together, how characters like Thrawn function, and can then get the crew together, the writers and everybody, to bring that into something that's exciting for that medium, but also is consistent with what's been done in other media like books and such.
Yeah. Awesome. Do you have some questions?
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm afraid it's going to be Thrawn heavy, but he's a beloved character, so that's
Sure.
okay. He is one of the best loved characters in Star Wars that we have yet to see in live
Yes.
action. Yet.
Yeah.
Well, can we go back to the beginning? What was the inspiration that you drew from to create him and give life to him?
When I was first offered the Thrawn trilogy, one of my goals was to do something that felt like Star Wars but was not what George had already done. That means no Death Star, no super weapon, no Vader type, no Emperor type. Okay, what can your villain be? I've always felt that a more dangerous villain than even Palpatine or Vader is someone who can lead by loyalty, not fear or being manipulated. They are loyal to this person because they will fight for him whether he's in the room with them or not. So backtrack from there. What kind of person will the troops be loyal to? Tactical strategic genius, so they know they're likely to win whatever battle they're put into. Doesn't get emotionally or ego involved in things to where he's wasting troops in a lost cause. You see you're losing, get everybody out, pick another time and place. No ego in taking suggestions from subordinates. A lot of top leaders don't want to do that. Thrawn would be different. Bunch of things like that, and then since there didn't seem to be many non-humans in the Empire's upper echelons, make him a non-human, because if he is given the rank of Grand Admiral, he must be extra special. So that's basically where Thrawn came from. Lead by loyalty, lead by someone we trust.
And those things carried over in the new series. Then.
Yes.
So much of that framework, because as I've read through them, especially some of the early ones here, you see that same inspire by loyalty.
Yeah.
Such a crucial thing. And I think what I liked about the new series, or not the newest, but the series
Imperial
that came
series,
out,
yeah.
that Thrawn was not necessarily good or bad, depending on your point of view, right? He was very ambivalent. He wasn't like he was working for the Empire, but wasn't necessarily.
His sole goal in life, and you get that explicitly in the Lesser Evil, the last book of Thrawn Ascendancy, is his goal in life is to protect the Chiss ascendancy and the Chiss people. Every other decision flows from that. Okay, we've got a new republic rising up, the Empire has been squashed back, but I, Thrawn, saw the chaos of the Clone Wars and what the Republic started or fell into. I need a strong military force here for when the enemies of the Chiss gather their strength and come in. I need a strong military. I don't trust the New Republic not to dissolve into chaos. The Empire, the remnant of it, has the structure, has the beginnings of the military I'm going to need. I will side with that.
Right.
You run that back to, I'm protecting my people, and everything else fits with all the stuff I've done, pre-Rebels, post-Rebels. That's still Thrawn.
As long as that's the core of who he is.
Yes, that's the core, and that's what everything he does is based on.
Very good, very good.
I'm curious, when you first saw Thrawn brought to life in the animated series, were you satisfied with what they did in bringing him to life?
Yeah, they did a good job. As I said, Filoni understands him. He got the right writers who could understand him. He understood how he thinks, how he behaves, his tactical skills, and importantly, how to defeat him. Because you can't have him winning every time because the New Republic is doomed.
Right.
You defeat him by throwing something at him he can't control or can't anticipate. You give him full control, full information, he will always win. Maybe not a particular battle, but he will win the war. So you beat him by throwing something he doesn't control. And both times of the defeat at the end of Season 3 and the end of Season 4 of Rebels, that's exactly what Filoni put in. That's how you take him out.
I kind of stopped reading Star Wars novels after the prequels came out. Mm-hmm. But the Thrawn series does intrigue me because I enjoyed the books before the prequels came out. For me to come back into it, what's the first book I should probably get my hands on?
You can start, the second two trilogies meld together, but they're written in reverse order. Thrawn Alliances, Thrawn Treason start about a week before, Thrawn starts shortly after the Clone Wars when he's first brought into the Empire and starts rising through the ranks. That book ends about a week before Season 3 of Rebels. Mm-hmm. So, for example, when he's introduced in Rebels, they mention he's made a Grand Admiral because of the Battle of Bataan, where someone comments, a lot of civilian casualties. The book, Thrawn, ends about a week it ends with the Battle of Bataan. So you see what actually happened in that battle and why there were so many casualties. Then Thrawn Alliances, Thrawn Treason are interwoven into gaps in his appearances in Rebels and ends just before the finale where he winds up disappearing out someplace with Ezra Bridger. Okay, so now I've done him after Return of the Jedi, 5 years after the original trilogy. I've taken him up to the end of Rebels, and now we're stuck because for the last few years, ever since the end of Rebels, Thrawn and Ezra have been locked in Dave Filoni's basement. because he hasn't known what he wants to do with the characters, and until he figures that out, I can't write more books. I'm sure it's a very comfortable basement, you know. And I'm absolutely certain they've got Disney Plus there.
Right.
But you know,
You can't stay in there forever, though.
Right.
so what we did was, let's go back in time to Thrawn's early days in the Chiss Ascendancy, dealing with threats to his people. So we have Chaos Rising, Greater Good and Lesser Evil. Lesser Evil ends just before Thrawn, with him leaving the Ascendancy just before the book Thrawn, him entering the Empire. So they actually form a complete 6-book set. So you could either start with Thrawn if you like him, if you like the Empire and the classic Star Wars. If you want to follow Thrawn's career, you could start with Chaos Rising. Either book is legit. If you want to go back with the beloved characters, you go back to Heir to the Empire, and you get Han, Luke, Leia, and all the movie characters. So there are at least 3 entry points into my Thrawn books, all of which work.
All of which work for you. Very good. Now, Thrawn's not the only. We focused a lot on Thrawn here, but it's not the only thing that you've written.
Correct.
Miles mentioned another series.
Dragonback.
Yeah. And this is a series. Are you still writing in that series?
No, that series is done. There are six books in that series. The Quadrail series is 5 books. That's finished. The Sybil's War was a trilogy. At the moment, I've got 2 series going. One with David Weber and Tom Pope on the Manticore Ascendant series. Fits into David Weber's Honor Harrington universe. Right. And I finally, a couple of years ago, came up with a sequel idea for a book I did 20 odd years ago, The Icarus Hunt.
Okay.
It was very popular standalone. People have been wanting a sequel. And up until basically the lockdown, I had no idea of something I could do. You don't want to go over the same territory twice. Right. Finally came up with an idea that would work. That book, The Icarus Plot, comes out in July from Baen Books, and I'm finishing up the 3rd book in that series.
Okay.
So I've got 2 series going, but that's it for the moment. I try not to have endless series.
Right.
When you're 70, you don't want to, you don't even buy green bananas, as they say.
Oh, it's true, because you just don't know,
Yeah.
Well, very good. And right now, we have the 2 Thrawn trilogies. There's nothing more planned in that at this point.
I would like to do more. I've got several ideas to pitch to Story Group. Story Group is up to their eyeballs in other stuff, and I think I submitted a couple of proposals November, possibly even late October. And we're still waiting for Story Group to say something.
Now, Story Group, tell me a little bit about
Story Group.
I'm not in the publishing world, right?
Yeah. Story Group is the group at Lucasfilm that vets everything. Vets the movies, the TV shows. They keep track of comic books, novels, etc., games. The idea is that if I'm developing something in a book that is close to or contradicts something that's coming out in a movie or a comic, they're the ones who know everything and can flag it.
Okay.
In one of the books, there was a character. They say this is too close to a character's name in some other project. They didn't specify. Can you change the name? Global search and replace. Sure, easy to do, but I would never have known that without them.
So they become kind of like the gatekeepers, as it sounds terrible, but they become the people that are just making sure everything lines up.
Well, librarians. They don't.
I like that better.
They don't have to be listened to. Apparently, the movie makers get to do whatever they want to. We novelists,
and then they got to figure it out.
And then they've got to kind of spackle it, whatever. But us novelists have to toe the line to them. And frankly, I'm glad. I would rather have somebody looking over my shoulder, checking to make sure I'm not contradicting something else. Plus the fact that when you've got 1 or 2 Story Group people reading it, that's another pair of eyes and good brain to look for any logical glitches, any internal, consistency problems. And the more of those I get, the better the book turns out.
So
absolutely. Between me, Del Rey's editor, the Lucasfilm book editor, Jen Heddle, and Story Group, We have a lot of good brains focusing
check
on
and
anything I
balances,
write,
yeah.
and it makes for better books.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's fantastic.
Does mean you have to wait for them to get free, though, to pass
You
on
might
a
have to
proposal.
wait.
Right, you have
answer.
to wait a little
Yeah,
bit.
you just have
But
to
it
work
has
that
to be
into-
freeing as an author that you don't need to keep track of everything
Yeah.
on top of it, because you know you have other people that are helping
Yeah.
out with it. So,
Yeah, I mean, two good examples in the book Thrawn. I used an old short story as the intro into that book, modified it so Eli Vanto was in it. And one of the comments came back, they don't have TIE fighters this early on. So these will have to be the ones that were in the original story that I'd copied over. You can't have TIE fighters. However, TIE fighters show up about midway through your book, and you can start introducing them then. So little things like that. Someone asked me at a convention whether Tarkin was a Grand Moff, as I've got him in the book. And I can unequivocally say absolutely, because Story Group has passed on this, and they would have flagged that if he wasn't
Right.
yet.
that would have been a big deal.
It would have been, but I know that's his position because Story Group would have caught it.
Right. Right.
So it's immensely freeing to not have to worry about running into those details. And again, since they're vetting everything, there are details I couldn't possibly know.
Right.
What's happening in comics? What's happening in games?
Right.
I don't know.
Can't keep track of everything, right?
Yeah. What is Filoni doing next? I don't know that either.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah, the Story Group is the gatekeeper, librarian. It's,
I like
it's a
librarian.
combination.
I like
librarian,
librarian, but I guess there's a little bit more of the librarian because they're also kind of making sure
There's a sense
Yes.
of accountability, I guess.
there's
Yeah,
accountability to it. Well, if people want to find out what's going on beyond the con, because we'll air this after the
Sure.
con, where can they find out stuff about Timothy Zahn?
I put information on conventions, publication, things of that sort on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Timothy Zahn, very simple. Up-to-date stuff. I don't comment on world events. This is all about what I'm doing,
Right.
convention-wise, book publishing-wise. Plenty other places will give you commentary and news and history. This is where you come.
This is where
This is escaping the real world, going to the world of Zahn.
and we need that. We
yeah.
need that.
Everybody else, other people can do that. You can
Right.
find anything else you want. This is just me. I don't often answer comments because I get so many and messages I would not have time to write, but I do read everything that people put in on there. So
So they will be
you're
heard,
not
whether-
being ignored. It's
Right.
just I don't have time to answer everything.
right. If you wanted to be writing more books, you can't answer all your comments.
And I figure that's mostly what people want at this point.
Right.